Remember how part 1 ended. Elena, 6 months pregnant, heartbroken, and furious, walked out of Isabella's penthouse after threatening to destroy her. She had 3 days until her planned disappearance. She thought she was in control. She thought she had thought of everything. She was wrong. Because while Elena was planning her escape, Isabella was planning something else entirely. Something that would put Elena's life and her baby's life in immediate danger. If you haven't seen part 1 of this story, stop. Go watch it first. The link is right there in the description and in the pinned comment. You need that backstory. But if you're caught up, then you already know Elena Volkov is not a woman you want as an enemy. Let's find out what happens when 2 dangerous women go to war. I called an emergency meeting with my team. Victor, Alexei, Irina, and Sofia gathered in Victor's basement that night. I stood in front of them, 27 weeks pregnant, bruised and bandaged, but absolutely certain. We move in 3 days, I said. I want to be gone before Dmitri realizes what's happening. 3 days? Sofia looked alarmed. Elena, I need at least 2 weeks to finalize your new identity. You have 3 days. Work faster. The money isn't all moved yet, Alexei said nervously. I still have $8 million to transfer. Leave it. 50 million is enough. I'm not greedy. What about the evidence against Isabella? Irina asked. When do you want that released? Not yet. I'm saving that for later, after I've disappeared. I want Dmitri to think everything is fine, that I've accepted my situation, that I'm just another broken wife waiting for him to come home. Then, when I'm gone and he can't find me, when he's torn apart his entire organization looking for me, that's when we release everything. That's when we destroy Isabella. That's when we destroy him. Victor studied me carefully. You've changed, Princessa. A month ago, you were heartbroken. Now, you're something else, something harder. I'm a mother now, I said simply, and I'll burn down the world to protect my child. Are you all with me? They looked at each other. Then, one by one, they nodded. Good. Here's what happens next. My last night in the Volkov mansion, I walked through every room. I remembered the first time Dmitri brought me here, how overwhelmed I was by the sheer size and luxury of it. How he'd carried me over the threshold on our wedding night, laughing, promising me a lifetime of happiness. I remembered decorating for our first Christmas together, arguing about whether the tree should be silver or gold. We compromised with both. I remembered Sunday mornings in the kitchen, making breakfast together, his arms around me as I cooked, his lips on my neck, everything perfect. I remembered the night I told him I was pregnant, how he'd cried with joy, how he'd held me like I was the most precious thing in the world. All those memories, all those moments, they felt like they'd happened to someone else. Because the Elena who'd loved Dmitri Volkov was dead, and the woman I was becoming had no room for nostalgia or regret. I stood in the nursery one last time, looking at the half-finished clouds on the ceiling, the crib I'd assembled myself, the mobile I'd picked out playing soft lullabies. I'm sorry, I whispered to my baby, my hand on my belly. I'm sorry you'll never sleep in this room. I'm sorry your father chose someone else over us. But I promise you, I will give you a better life than this. A life without violence, without lies, without having to look over your shoulder, wondering who's coming for you. I will protect you, even if it means becoming someone I never thought I could be. The baby kicked, as if in agreement. I turned off the light and walked out of the nursery for the last time. Tomorrow, Elena Volkov would disappear, and the hunt would begin. Elena had 48 hours before her vanishing act, but Dmitri was starting to suspect something. And Isabella. She was making her own plans, plans that would force Elena to make an impossible choice between revenge and survival. Part 4 is where loyalties are tested, where allies become enemies, and where Elena learns that disappearing is the easy part. Staying disappeared. That's the real challenge. Don't you dare miss this. Subscribe now. Friday morning, 48 hours until I vanished. I woke up at 5 a.m., checked my go bag for the 100th time. Cash, burner phones, passport in my new name, Victoria Morrison, Canadian citizen, freelance writer, prenatal vitamins, protein bars, a USB drive with all the evidence against Dmitri and Isabella. The plan was simple. On Sunday at 2 p.m., I would leave for a prenatal massage appointment. At a spa in Manhattan, Victor would be waiting 3 blocks away in an unmarked van. We'd drive to a safe house in upstate New York where I'd stay until the baby was born. After the birth, Sophia would provide new documentation for both of us, and we'd relocate to Vancouver. Simple, clean, foolproof. Except nothing is ever foolproof when you're married to a mafia boss. At 8 a.m., my phone rang. Dmitri. Elena, I'm coming home tonight. We need to talk. Really talk. About everything. My heart stuttered. Tonight? Why tonight? Because I've made a decision. About us. About the baby. About everything. I'll be there at 8 p.m. Don't make plans. He hung up before I could respond. I immediately called Victor. We have a problem. Dmitri's coming home tonight. He says he's made a decision. What kind of decision? I don't know, but it's going to complicate things. Can we move up the timeline? Leave today instead of Sunday? Impossible. Sophia needs another day to finish the documentation, and the safe house isn't ready. I have people cleaning it, making sure it's stocked with everything you need. If we move too fast, we'll make mistakes. Victor, what if he's suspicious? What if he knows something? Then you play your part, Princessa. You be the broken, heartbroken wife for one more night. Can you do that? I looked at myself in the mirror. 27 weeks pregnant. Dark circles under my eyes. I looked the part. Yes, I can do that. Good. Stay calm. Stick to the plan. Sunday at 2 p.m. Nothing has changed. But everything had changed because I knew Dmitri. And I knew that when he said he'd made a decision, it meant something big. At noon, someone knocked on my door. I checked the security camera, something I'd become obsessive about since the accident. A woman I didn't recognize stood there. Young, maybe early 20s, with dark hair and nervous energy. I almost didn't open the door, but something about her made me curious. Mrs. Volkov? She said when I cracked the door open. My name is Nina Petrov. I'm Victor's niece. He sent me. Please, can I come in? It's important. Victor's niece. He'd mentioned her once, his brother's daughter, studying computer science at NYU. I let her in. Nina walked into my living room and immediately pulled out a laptop. Aunt Elena, Victor said I should call you that. I need to show you something. I've been monitoring Isabella Moretti's communications for Victor. Phone calls, emails, text messages, and I found something you need to see. She pulled up a series of emails between Isabella and her father, Marco Moretti. From Isabella Moretti to Marco Moretti. Date, November 3rd. Subject: The Volkov situation. Papa, everything is proceeding as planned. Dmitri is completely under my control. The wife is broken and isolated. I've accelerated the timeline. By Christmas, I'll be the only woman in his life. The pregnancy is a complication, but complications can be eliminated. Once I'm married to Dmitri, we'll have complete access to the Volkov organization. You can expand into their territory, and we'll control the East Coast together. The Russians won't even see it coming. Trust me, Papa. I know what I'm doing. Your loving daughter, Isabella. I read it twice, my blood turning to ice. She's been playing him from the start, I whispered. This was never about love. It was about her father getting access to Dmitri's empire. Nina nodded. There's more. Isabella has been meeting with FBI agents. Look at this. She pulled up surveillance photos. Isabella entering the FBI field office in Manhattan, meeting with agents, leaving with manila folders. She's building a case against Dmitri. She's going to have him arrested and take over his organization while he's in prison. She gets the empire, gets rid of the inconvenient wife and baby, and becomes a hero to her father. It's actually brilliant in a completely psychotic way. I sat down heavily, my mind racing. Does Victor know about this? I just found it this morning. I came straight here. Aunt Elena, you need to warn him. If Isabella has the FBI involved, if Dmitri gets arrested, everyone goes down with him. I finished. Every person in the organization, including Victor, including everyone helping me disappear. This changed everything. If Isabella was working with the FBI, my carefully planned disappearance might not matter. I could vanish to Canada, but if Dmitri got arrested and cut a deal, he might tell them everything, including where to find me. Or worse, he might think I was the one who betrayed him to the FBI. Nina, I need you to copy all of this. Everything you have on Isabella, every email, every photo, every phone call. Can you do that? Already done. She handed me a USB drive. This is everything. What are you going to do? I'm going to make sure that when I disappear, I take Isabella Moretti down with me. Dmitri arrived at 8 p.m. sharp, carrying a bouquet of white roses, my favorite flowers. I'd spent the afternoon preparing. I wore a soft blue dress that made me look vulnerable, did my hair the way he liked it, put on just enough makeup to look like I'd tried. I was playing a role, the heartbroken wife waiting for her husband to come home. "Elena," he said, handing me the flowers. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." I took the roses, led him to the dining room where I'd prepared his favorite meal, beef stroganoff, the recipe his mother had taught me. We ate in silence for the first 10 minutes. The tension was suffocating. Finally, Dmitri set down his fork. I ended it with Isabella. I looked up sharply. "What? This afternoon?" I told her it was over. That I was choosing you and our baby. That I made a terrible mistake, but I want to fix it. I stared at him, searching for the lie. But he looked genuine, tired, regretful, but genuine. I asked quietly, "Why now?" "Because I've been an idiot. Because I almost lost you in that accident, and it made me realize what matters. Because I felt our baby kick last week when I put my hand on your stomach, and I knew I couldn't be the kind of man who abandons his family." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "Elena, I'm so sorry. For everything. For hurting you. For being weak. For choosing my own selfish desires over the woman who's been by my side for 5 years. It was a good speech. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have believed it. But I'd seen Isabella's emails. I knew this was part of her plan. Push Dmitri back to his wife to make him look stable and devoted when the FBI came knocking. A man trying to reconcile with his pregnant wife doesn't look like a criminal. He looks like a victim of false accusations. "What did Isabella say when you ended it?" I asked. She understood. She said she knew it was the right thing. She was going back to Chicago next week. Lie. Isabella wasn't going anywhere. She was staying right here, waiting to spring her trap. "Dmitri," I said carefully, "what if I can't forgive you? What if it's too late? Then I'll spend the rest of my life earning your forgiveness." He squeezed my hand. "Elena, I love you. I never stopped loving you. I was just lost. But I've found my way back. To you. To our family. Please, give me another chance." The old Elena would have cried. Would have thrown herself into his arms. Would have believed every word. The new Elena smiled and said, "Okay." At midnight, after Dmitri had fallen asleep in our bed of euros the first time he'd slept there in weeks, I heard a noise downstairs. My security system was off. Someone had disarmed it. I grabbed the gun Victor had given me weeks ago, loaded and hidden in my nightstand drawer. Moving as quietly as I could, I crept downstairs. A figure stood in my living room, illuminated by moonlight through the windows. "Isabella. You should have left when you had the chance," she said, turning to face me. She wasn't armed, at least not visibly, but she radiated danger. "How did you get in here?" "Dmitri gave me the security codes months ago. He's been giving me a lot of things, Elena. His time, his attention, his heart, and soon, his empire." "Does he know you're here?" "Of course not. He's upstairs, sleeping off his guilt, dreaming of playing happy family with you." She laughed. "It's pathetic, really. You actually believed him when he said he ended things with me. He's been in love with me for months. One dramatic speech doesn't change that." "Then why are you here, Isabella? If you've already won, why risk coming to my house in the middle of the night?" "Because I need you to understand something." She stepped closer. "You're not going to disappear on Sunday. You're not going to take your money and run. You're not going to ruin my plans." My blood ran cold. "How did you?" "I know everything, Elena. Did you really think Viktor Petrov was loyal to you? He's been feeding me information for weeks. The fake identity, the safe house in upstate New York, the $50 million, every detail of your little escape plan. No, that couldn't be true. Viktor was my ally. He'd called me princessa. He'd helped me." "You're lying." "Am I? Check your bank accounts. Check those offshore accounts Alexei set up for you." With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and logged into one of the accounts. Empty. I checked another. Empty. All of them. $50 million. Gone. "Victor moved the money yesterday," Isabella said. "Right into accounts controlled by me. Did you really think you could steal from the Volkov family without consequences? Did you think you were smart enough to disappear?" I raised the gun, pointing it at her chest. My hands were shaking, but at this distance, I couldn't miss. "Give me the money back, now. Or what? You'll shoot me?" In your house, while your husband sleeps upstairs. She laughed. Go ahead, Elena. Pull the trigger. Shoot an unarmed woman in your own home. See how well that plays with the FBI when they come investigating. Because they are coming. I've made sure of that. You're working with the FBI. Someone's been doing their homework. Yes, I'm working with the FBI. I'm going to be their star witness against Dmitri Volkov. In exchange, I get immunity and control of his assets. And you're going to be collateral damage. The tragic wife who got caught in the crossfire. Unless what? Unless you do exactly what I say. Here's the deal. Elena, you're going to stay married to Dmitri. You're going to have his baby. You're going to play the devoted wife while I dismantle his empire from the inside. And when it's all over, when Dmitri's in prison and I control everything, I'll let you leave. I'll give you enough money to disappear, but you do it on my terms, on my timeline. And if I refuse? Then I make sure you go to prison with Dmitri. I have evidence of your involvement in money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. You signed documents, Elena. You were there for meetings. You're not innocent, and we both know it. I can send you to prison for 20 years. Your baby would be born behind bars. Is that what you want? I stared at her, this beautiful, evil woman who destroyed my life. And then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Elena, who are you talking to? Dmitri appeared in the doorway, half asleep, wearing only pajama pants. His eyes went wide when he saw Isabella. What the hell is going on here? Isabella's mask slipped back into place instantly. Dmitri, thank God you're here. Elena pulled a gun on me. I came to talk to her, to apologize for everything, and she threatened to kill me. That's bullshit, I said, keeping the gun trained on Isabella. She broke into our house. She's been manipulating you from the start. She's working with the FBI to take down your organization. Elena, put the gun down, Dmitri said carefully. Let's all just calm down and talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. She's going to destroy you, Dmitri. She never loved you. This was all a setup. She's paranoid, Isabella said, her voice trembling perfectly. The accident. The pregnancy stress, she's having some kind of breakdown. Dmitri, please, help her. I saw the indecision on Dmitri's face. Who did he believe? His paranoid, jealous wife? Or the beautiful young woman he'd been sleeping with? Then Isabella made her mistake. Dmitri, I ended things with the FBI, she said. I told them I wouldn't cooperate. I chose you. I chose us. How did you know about the FBI? Dmitri's voice was suddenly ice-cold. I never told you about their investigation. Isabella froze. You must have mentioned it. I never mentioned it. Because I only found out about it yesterday. My lawyer called me. So how do you know about it, Isabella? The room fell silent. Dmitri, I can explain. You're the informant. He said it with horrible certainty. You're the one who's been feeding information to the FBI. No, Get out. His voice was thunder. Get out of my house before I forget you're Marco Moretti's daughter and put a bullet in your head myself. Isabella looked between us, her perfect mask shattered. Then she ran. The front door slammed. We heard her car start, tires squealing as she fled. Dmitri stood there, breathing hard, his world collapsing around him. Then he looked at me, at the gun still in my hand. Were you really going to disappear? Sunday at 2 p.m.? I lowered the gun. Yes, Victor, the money, all of it. Elena. His voice broke. What have we done to each other? I didn't answer, because I didn't know anymore. Isabella fled. The money was gone. Victor had betrayed Elena, or had he? Because in the criminal underworld, nothing is ever what it seems. And Elena still had one card left to play. One final move that would change everything. Part 5 is the climax you've been waiting for. The vanishing act, the revenge, the truth about what happened to Elena Volkov. And trust me, you're not ready for this ending. Hit subscribe. You'll thank me later. After Isabella fled, Dmitri and I stood in our living room at 1 a.m., two people who destroyed each other, trying to figure out what was left. I need to make some calls, Dmitri said, already pulling out his phone. If Isabella's working with the FBI, if she has information about the organization, wait, I said. Before you do anything, there's something you need to know about Victor.
Elena, not now. Victor betrayed you. He took your money.
I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a text message from Victor sent at 11:47 p.m., just minutes before Isabella arrived. Isabella thinks I'm working for her. I'm not. The money is safe. She's coming to you tonight. Be ready. Trust me, Princessa. One last time. Victor's been playing Isabella, I explained. When she approached him weeks ago, offering him money to sabotage my escape, he came to me. We decided to use her against herself. We made her think she'd won. The money? In a different set of accounts. Real ones this time. Victor showed Isabella fake statements. She thinks she has it, but she has nothing. Dmitri stared at me. You've been 3 steps ahead this entire time. I had to be. You left me no choice. He sat down heavily on the couch. Elena, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. You're right. I threw away everything. Our marriage, our family, our future. For what? For a woman who was using me to destroy me. I'm an idiot. Yes, I agreed. You are. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at my husband, really looked at him and saw not the powerful mafia boss everyone feared, but a middle-aged man who'd made catastrophically bad choices and lost everything that mattered. I don't know, I said honestly. But right now, forgiveness isn't what matters. What matters is that Isabella is still out there. She still has the FBI, and she's not going to give up just because you kicked her out of our house. So, what do? I smiled. We finished the plan. My plan. The one I've been working on for months. But now, instead of me disappearing alone, I paused. We disappear together. Saturday morning, 24 hours before my scheduled disappearance. Dmitri and I called an emergency meeting. Victor, Alexei, Irina, and Nina gathered at a warehouse on the outskirts of Brooklyn. Here's what's going to happen, I told them. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Dmitri and I are both disappearing. Permanently. The Volkov organization will collapse. The FBI will have nothing to investigate because there will be no organization left. And Isabella Moretti will be left holding the bag for crimes she can't prove because the witnesses will all be gone. You want to dissolve the entire organization? Victor asked. Elena, it's the only way. Dmitri's empire is built on violence and corruption. Our child isn't growing up in this world, so we're burning it down and starting over. Starting over where? Alexei asked nervously. That's for us to know. But here's what each of you gets in exchange for your help. I laid out the plan. Victor would get $5 million and safe passage to Moscow, where he had family. He'd retire comfortably, far from FBI jurisdiction. Alexei would get $3 million and a new identity in the Cayman Islands, where he could live out his days on a beach, far from ledgers and angry mob bosses. Irina would get $2 million and the satisfaction of knowing she'd helped destroy Isabella Moretti. Plus, I had one special job for her. Nina would get $1 million and my eternal gratitude for her hacking skills. And the rest of the money? Victor asked. Goes to the families, the widows, the children of men who died working for Dmitri. Anonymous payments that will change their lives. Dmitri looked at me with something like awe. You're redistributing my criminal empire to the victims of my criminal empire. Yes. Consider it reparations. I love you, he said quietly. I forgot that for a while, but I love you, Elena. I know. Now let's see if you love me enough to walk away from everything you've built. While we prepared for our disappearance, Irina had one final task. She met with Marco Moretti in Chicago. It was a dangerous play walking into the Italian boss's Territoria Euros, but Irina was fearless. And she had something Marco needed to hear. She recorded the meeting. Later, she sent me the audio file. Marco, why should I believe anything a Volkov tells me? Irina, because I'm not a Volkov anymore. I'm just a woman who knows what your daughter really is. And I think you deserve to know the truth about Isabella. Marco, be very careful what you say next. Irina, 6 years ago, Isabella fell in love with a black musician named Marcus Washington. You had him beaten and paid him to disappear. You sent Isabella to rehab to correct her thinking. What you created wasn't a devoted daughter. You created a sociopath who learned to hide her true self from you. Marco, that's enough. Irina, she's been working with the FBI for months. She seduced Dmitri Volkov as part of a plan to take over his organization and deliver his empire to you on a platter. But she's also building a case against you, Marco. She's collecting evidence against the Moretti family. She plans to bring down both the Russians and the Italians, eliminate everyone who's ever controlled her, and emerge as the most powerful crime boss on the East Coast. Your daughter isn't your successor. She's your executioner. Silence. Marco. You have proof of this? Irina. Hours of surveillance. Emails. FBI meeting logs. Recorded phone calls where she discusses eliminating you once you're no longer useful. Your daughter is brilliant, Marco. She learned from the best. She learned from you. And now she's going to destroy you the same way you destroyed Marcus Washingtona by taking away everything you love. More silence. Marco, where is Isabella now? Irina, New York. But not for long. She knows her plan is falling apart. She'll run soon, unless you stop her first. Marco, Ms. Volkova, if you're lying to me, Irina, I'm not lying. I'm giving you a gift. The truth about your daughter before she destroys you. What you do with that gift is up to you. The recording ended. 2 hours later, Marco Moretti's private jet landed in New York. Isabella had 24 hours to live. She just didn't know it yet. Sunday, 2 p.m. Dmitri and I walked out of the Volkov mansion for the last time. We carried nothing but small bags, clothes, documents, cash. Everything else was left behind. The cars, the jewelry, the art collection worth millions. All of it abandoned. Victor was waiting in the van, just like we'd planned. Ready, Princessa? Ready. We drove north, past the city, past the suburbs, into rural New York where there are more trees than people. The safe house was a small cabin on 20 acres of land, purchased years ago under a shell company that couldn't be traced to anyone. It had everything we needed: supplies, medical equipment for the birth, security systems, and absolute privacy. Dr. Sarah Chen was already there, along with a midwife named Rebecca, who specialized in home births for people who needed discretion. Elena, Dr. Chen said, hugging me carefully. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. And you? She looked at Dmitri. Are you sure about this, walking away from everything? Dmitri looked at me, his hand on my pregnant belly. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. 9 weeks later, at exactly 36 weeks pregnant, I went into labor. It was December 15th, the date I'd planned months ago. Though my body didn't need the scheduled C-section after all. My daughter was ready to enter the world on her own terms. Labor was 16 hours of hell. Rebecca and Dr. Chen coached me through it while Dmitri held my hand and looked absolutely terrified. You're doing great, Dr. Chen said. Almost there. One more push. I pushed, and suddenly the room was filled with crying. Not my crying, though I was doing plenty of that, but the angry, indignant wailing of a brand new human. It's a girl, Rebecca announced, placing my daughter on my chest. She was tiny and perfect, with a full head of dark hair and lungs that worked incredibly well. She was screaming her fury at being evicted from her warm, comfortable home into this bright, cold world. Hi, baby, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Hi, my beautiful girl. I'm your mama. I've been waiting so long to meet you. Dmitri was crying too, his forehead pressed against mine, his hand touching our daughter's tiny fist. She's perfect, he whispered. Elena, she's absolutely perfect. What are we going to name her? I asked. We'd avoided discussing names, as if naming her would make everything too real. Dmitri looked at his daughter, really looked at her and said, Nadia. It means hope in Russian, because she's our hope, our second chance, our reason to be better than we were. Nadia Morrison, I said, using my new last name. Welcome to the world, little one. You have no idea how much trouble we went through to keep you safe. Nadia stopped crying and opened her eyes, dark blue, like all newborns, and stared at me with an intensity that took my breath away. She knows, Dmitri said softly. She knows her mother is a warrior. 3 days after Nadia was born, Victor called. The FBI raided the Volkov mansion, he said. They found it empty. No evidence, no witnesses, no Dmitri Volkov. They're furious. And Isabella? Silence. Victor, what happened to Isabella? She tried to run. She withdrew all her money, packed her bags, was heading to the airport. But she never made it. Marco Moretti's men intercepted her at a gas station in New Jersey. Is she dead? No one knows. She disappeared. Completely. There are rumors that Marco has her somewhere, but no body has been found. Officially, Isabella Moretti is missing. The FBI is investigating her disappearance, but, he paused, they won't find anything. Marco is too careful. I should have felt guilty. Isabella was evil, but she was also someone's daughter. She was young, misguided, driven by daddy issues and ambition into making terrible choices. But I didn't feel guilty. I felt relief. What about you? I asked Victor. Are you safe? I'm at the airport now, flying to Moscow in 2 hours. I'll never see you again, Princessa. But I want you to know, helping you was the best thing I've done in 30 years of working for the Volkov family. You saved that little girl from a life of violence. You saved Dmitri from himself. You're a hero. I'm not a hero, Victor. I'm just a mother who refused to accept the hand she was dealt. That's what makes you a hero. Goodbye, Elena. Take care of that beautiful baby. Goodbye, Victor. Thank you for everything. Vancouver is beautiful in the fall. We live in a small house in Kitsilano, near the beach. Victoria Morrison, me, is a freelance medical writer. Her husband, David Morrison, Dmitri, owns a small construction company. We're boring, middle class. Unremarkable. We have a 1-year-old daughter named Nadia who just started walking. She stumbles around our living room, laughing when she falls, determined to explore every corner of her small, safe world. Dmitri is a different man. He works with his hands now, actual physical labor. He comes home exhausted and satisfied in a way he never was before. He plays with Nadia for hours. He cooks dinner. While I work. He's learning to be a person instead of a persona. We're not rich. We have enough money to live comfortably, not extravagantly, but comfortably. The rest we donated, just like I promised. Sometimes I think about the life we left behind. The power, the fear, the respect. But then Nadia laughs, or Dmitri kisses my forehead while we're doing dishes. Or I wake up in the morning without a knot of anxiety in my stomach, and I know we made the right choice. 6 months ago, Detective Marcus Chen from the NYPD called me. I don't know how he got my number. I'd been so careful. Mrs. Morrison? He said. Or should I call you Mrs. Volkov? My blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been investigating the disappearance of Elena and Dmitri Volkov, and I've become fascinated by the case. A pregnant woman and a powerful crime boss both vanish without a trace? That's not easy to do. I'm sorry, but you have the wrong person. Maybe, but here's the thing. I don't actually want to find Elena Volkov. I spent 6 months investigating the Volkov organization before they disappeared. I saw what they did, the lives they destroyed, and then I saw what Elena did after. She disappeared. The anonymous donations to victims' families. The information that led to the arrest of corrupt politicians and dirty cops on the Volkov payroll. The complete dismantling of a criminal empire. Why are you calling me? Because I wanted to tell Elena Volkov something, if she existed. I wanted to tell her that sometimes the law and justice aren't the same thing. The law says she's a missing person, possibly a victim. Justice says she's a woman who saved her child and dozens of other families from a life of violence. So if I were to find Elena Volkov, if she existed, I'd probably lose her file. Accidentally, in a drawer somewhere, for about 50 years. I was silent for a long moment. Thank you, I whispered. You're welcome. Take care of your family, Mrs. Morrison. He hung up. I never heard from him again. This morning, Nadia said her first word. Not mama or dada, though she's been babbling versions of those for months. Her first clear, unmistakable word was go. She was at the front door pulling on her coat, looking at us with determination. Go, she said again, go. Dmitri laughed. She's her mother's daughter, already planning her escape. I picked her up, kissing her cheek. You can go anywhere you want, baby girl. But you're choosing to go, not running away. That's the difference. As I look back on everything, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the plan, the escape, I realize that I didn't lose myself when I stopped being Elena Volkov. I found myself. I found the woman who refused to be a victim, who turned pain into power, who risked everything to protect the one thing that mattered. And now, every morning, I wake up in a house filled with love instead of fear. I raise my daughter to be strong, independent, and brave. I build a life with a man who learned that real power comes from choosing your family over your ego. People ask me sometimes, people who don't know my real story, if I have any regrets. I tell them no. Because the woman I was, Elena Volkov, the perfect mafia wife, she had to die so that Victoria Morrison, flawed and free, could live. And Nadia? She'll never know about the Volkov family. She'll never know about the violence and corruption that almost defined her life. She'll only know that her parents love her, that they chose her, that they gave up everything to give her everything. That's not a story about a mafia boss who picked his mistress over his wife. That's a story about a woman who refused to be picked at all, who picked herself, who picked her child, who vanished without a trace and became someone better. I'm writing this from a small cafe in Victoria, BC. Nadia, now 4 years old, in preschool, making friends, learning to paint, living a normal, beautiful childhood. Last week, I received a package, no return address. Inside was a newspaper clipping from the New York Times. Isabella Moretti found dead in Chicago River. Mob boss's daughter killed in apparent assassination. The article said she'd been missing for 3 years before her body was discovered. The investigation was ongoing, but no arrests had been made. Also in the package was a note, in Victor's handwriting: "Some debts take time to collect. She hurt what was mine to protect. Marco Moretti sends his regards." I burned the note, shredded the newspaper clipping, because that's not my world anymore. I'm just Victoria Morrison now. Mother, wife, freelance writer, PTA volunteer. And Elena Volkov. She's a ghost story. A legend whispered about in certain circles. The pregnant wife who vanished. The woman who brought down an empire. The mother who became invisible to save her child. But I know the truth. I didn't become invisible. I became free.